Why, hello there, Trailblazers fans. Welcome into the 1977 podcast, a podcast named after your 1977 world champion Portland Trailblazers. And boy, howdy, do we have news to talk about here today. It's been a minute since I jumped in here and recorded with you as the season ended. And I was like, let's just let this thing breathe. Get to the off season eventually. We still got some other things to take care of on and off the court for myself. And I'm sitting there and I was hosting Courtside Monday today as of this recording. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, this is what the Blazers are going to do. We're talking about prospects. Maybe they'll trade Jeremy Grant. There was never a mention of Anfernee Simons. We knew that there was, the potential, the big three, if you will, when it comes to the three that need to be traded. Anfernee Simons, DeAndre Ayton, Jeremy Grant, right? We kind of all thought it was going to be Jeremy Grant first and see what happened. But we've argued all year long that the Blazers need to pick a path, right? It either needs to be Ant, it needs to be Scoot, one or the other. Well, they picked it tonight after I went off the air, of course, because I couldn't talk about it live. But that's okay. That's the nature of radio. But it was shocking. I'm sitting up in the nursery, right, getting my youngest child down to bed, and all of a sudden my phone look down. It's Shams. The Boston Celtics have agreed to trade Jrue Holiday to the like all you see is the PO. I'm like, oh my gosh. That's right. I still have Shams notifications, so I knew I wasn't getting duped. I knew it was real. I looked down and it's like it's Anfernee Simons and 2 second-round picks to Boston, Jrue Holiday back to your Portland Trailblazers. I think Portland Twitter has been absolutely crazy for the last few hours, right? Deciding whether it's a good trade or a bad trade or what to think. What does this mean for Scoot? What does it mean for the team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is a trade that I don't necessarily love, but I don't necessarily hate. Understand why the team did it. I think there's a lot to this. I don't think this trade should ever be viewed just in a vacuum of what it is, as an Ant, 2 picks, and Jrue, and that's the end of it. Because, at the end of the day, it was Damian Lillard, right, to Milwaukee and all these other moving parts, and Jrue Holiday comes to Portland, but then Jrue Holiday gets flipped back to Boston. You get picks in return, and now you've gotten Jrue Holiday back, right? You got Malcolm Brogdon, and you turned Malcolm Brogdon into Denny Avdia. That was great, right? So you never know where this one goes in the long run. Now, I tweeted in the moment that, I don't know if Jrue Holiday is going to be here tomorrow. I don't know if he's going to be here for the long run. I don't necessarily know if he's, the starter or whatnot. But I do know that the team has handed the keys to Scoot Henderson. Okay, that's the one thing we do know. Now, people kind of got mad at me for that. Like, what do you mean? You really think that he's going to start over Jrue Holiday? That does not concern me at this point, right? Because what I said about Jrue Holiday a second ago, right? You traded Jrue Holiday to Boston. That got you Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon barely played for you. Malcolm Brogdon and a first-round pick turned into Denny Avdia, who is now probably a part of your future, right? So you never know what Jrue Holiday and a pick or Jrue Holiday and whatever else turns into in the long run. But I still do believe that this move has opened the door for the long-term, prognosis, if you will, of Scoot Henderson as your starting point guard. I absolutely do. And you can sit here and you can try to argue that all you want. Oh, he's entering year 3 and he's this and he's that. Scoot Henderson, my friends, is just 21 years old. Not only young by just the standards of humanity, but extremely young when it comes to NBA terms, right? So if Jrue Holiday is here for the next 6 months, or Jrue Holiday is here until the trade deadline, Jrue Holiday is here for the next year, I still think the door is open. The keys have been handed to Scoot. Maybe at this point the keys have been handed to him, but he only has his permit. He doesn't have his driver's license yet, but he finally gets to drive the vehicle. And maybe Jrue Holiday is the parent sitting there in the driver's seat telling him, all right, well, put it into drive and gently push your foot on the accelerator, right? Maybe that's what it is. And if you guys listen to me either here on the podcast or on Rip City Radio 620, you've heard before how I absolutely think that the idea of a veteran mentor is overblown, right? Because when people are talking about Chris Paul early in the offseason about, it'd be smart to bring him in to mentor Scoot Henderson. I don't like that idea. Because I don't think you ever look at a vet and go, I'm just going to bring him in and his whole goal is to mentor this young guy. And a guy like Chris Paul, who hasn't won a ring, like he's not going to want to come in and just be the mentor, right? But I do think there are situations, and I said it back then as well, that the mentor thing works. And I think this is one of them, because Jrue Holiday, at this point in time, of course, plans change, pal, as they say in the business. But at this point in time, he's a member of the Trailblazers, and I think he's going to be an important part of the Trailblazers, right? He's going to get his minutes. He's going to get his time. He's going to help hopefully lead this team to winning. But he's also going to help mentor Scoot Henderson a little bit and get Scoot Henderson playing the way that Chauncey Billups wants his point guards to play, be aggressive on the defensive end, right? Those things that we saw in the second half of last year. And I also salivate at the idea of him doing that, and then the Jrue Holiday, say Matisse Thybulle picks up his option, so he's here. And if you can roll out a lineup with Jrue Holiday, Matisse Thybulle, Toumani Camara, Donovan Clingan, have fun. Have fun, offenses. That's just a defensive juggernaut on the lineup. But where's the scoring going to come from? I don't care. We'll worry about that later. Defensively, that lineup's just fun. Okay? So I don't know. Is Jrue Holiday the starter on day one? Is Scoot Henderson the starter on day one? That's all stuff that remains to be seen. I think Jrue Holiday can be the starter in game number one, and that doesn't mean that Scoot Henderson is not handed the keys with this trade. Because I wholeheartedly believe the team had to go one of two ways, right? It was either trade Ant to open up the pathway for Scoot, or just get off of Scoot and decide the answer guy, give him his extension, lock him up, right? Admit you missed on the third pick. Well, I think they picked one of those paths. And again, if Jrue Holiday's the starter at the beginning of the year, so be it. Doesn't mean that the keys weren't handed. Maybe he just doesn't have the driver's license yet. Can't just drive on his own. He still has to have mom or dad with him, right? But we'll see where that one sits in the long run. Again, I like this trade for various reasons. Because of that, I do think he can help Scoot get where they need him to be. Instantly makes this team better defensively. He can hit the shot, right? His numbers took a dip last year, but we still know that he can go score. He's done that before. He doesn't have to light up the scoreboard in this lineup. And I do think when it comes to either the trade deadline or next year, that there's still value in Jrue Holiday. Massive amounts. I think every single contender wants Jrue Holiday on their team. So you can look at Boston and say, why did Boston trade him? Well, I think the skinny of it is, unfortunately, Jason Tatum is out. One of the many superstars who succumbed to injury during this playoffs, right? The Achilles tendon. And you're going to need someone to step in a little bit. Now, you got Jaylen Brown. Obviously, you got Peyton Pritchard who can go do his thing, but you need someone else who can score. And that's Anfernee Simons. Come in, get me your 18, 19, 20 points a night. Help out the rest of these guys. Alleviate some of that scoring pressure. Hopefully, Kristaps Porzingis is healthy for them. That's going to give them another score. It's going to allow Ant, I think, really get in a groove, and it gets going. Right? And then Tatum comes back. Things are looking good. I still think maybe there's somewhere down the line, 2-3 years from now, Ant's in a different uniform again. But for what Boston wants right now to continue to be competitive, I think this makes sense. I absolutely think it makes sense. Now, there's rumors out there that there's still plenty of trades to go down for the Boston Celtics. But right now, again, they need someone to score. And so I think Joe Cronin and company takes advantage, because you could sit there. I think most people would argue that Jrue Holiday probably has more trade value than Anfernee Simons because of his ability to play defense. I think defense is at a massive premium right now. I've argued forever that a shooting guard who does nothing but score, right? Like, that is Ant's strong suit. There's nothing else that jumps out off the table. That they can be a dime a dozen, and they don't tend to get a lot of value in those trades. It's the same reason that Tyler Hero wasn't enough to move the needle for a Dame trade, right? And Tyler Hero had a phenomenal year last year for Miami, but he wasn't enough to move the needle for Dame. Not enough defense, not enough shot creating, not enough ball distribution. He was just a pure shooter, right? So I think Jrue Holiday has more value. So then why was he traded for Ant? Because, again, need. I think that team is good enough defensively all the way around. Jaylen Brown's good defensively, right? Al Horford, who will likely return. I see him re-signing with them. Good defensively. Porzingis can do things defensively. Like, they get Derek White. Like, they got good defenders, right? So they can afford to part with a good defender to bring in the offense that they need to help alleviate them through the year of dealing with Jason Tatum's injury. That's why you get him. You strike while the iron's hot. That's what Joe Cronin did. So whether it's the trade deadline or next off season or whatever, I don't think Jrue Holiday's here for the long haul, but he's here for the moment, right? So we'll see what happens, again, where that goes. I do think, I believe, I stand by my posts on social media that the team handed the keys to Scoot Henderson. And we've been doing some digging, and that's kind of the feeling that we've been getting from the front office as we continue to talk to some of our sources. Seriously, like, is this Jrue? Drew's going to go start, or does the team trust Scoot? And it looks like the team trusts Scoot. Hard to believe. I know Jrue Holiday, a proven starter. Is that guy really going to come off the bench? Everyone argues you don't pay the guy $30 million to come off the bench. Again, I think there's a difference between the 25-year-old guy getting $30 million and the 35-year-old guy getting $30 million. Maybe that guy can come off the bench, understand his role a little bit, help out, and that's going to boost him in the long run, right? Again, crazy trade. I don't think anybody saw it coming. Anybody. We've sitting here and been looking at Jeremy Grant every single day. What could they get? Who wants him? What's the market? Blah, blah. Oh, man. Desmond Bane goes to Orlando. There closes the door on Anfernee Simons. Yeah, well, found a team that wanted him. And it wasn't Boston wasn't the one I thought. I looked at LA. I was like, okay, maybe the Clippers could get in on that. Dallas, I thought definitely. Ooh, I could see Dallas making sense. Especially with Kyrie out dealing with the ACL, right? Boston swoops in, gets the job done. Maybe you can get back in there, get Peyton Pritchard back here too. That wouldn't hurt too bad. But I do think, again, this is Scoot Henderson's time. He's got to grab the ball. He's got to run with it. He's got to grab the keys. He's got to show that he can pass his driver's test, right? And take advantage. Get into that starting lineup. So Anfernee Simons, no longer a Portland Trailblazer as of tonight. It's just crazy to think. I don't think anyone saw that coming 2 days ahead of the draft. Maybe on draft night. Again, a lot of people still thought it was going to be Jeremy Grant who would get traded, right? But Anfernee Simons is the one who they get let go. And Jrue Holiday comes back. And I think you can also look at this too, like the interesting move with Jrue Holiday. Like I said earlier, like you go in, you get him in the Dame deal, you trade him, you get assets for him, Malcolm Brogdon and picks, and then you turn around, you get Malcolm Brogdon out to Washington, you get Denny Avdia and that, so you turn Jrue Holiday into Denny Avdia, and then you got Jrue Holiday back. And again, I just don't know how much more you were going to get for Anfernee Simons out there. Now, you can look at what Orlando gave Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane, probably an all-around better offensive player, and he brings it on the defensive side of the ball. There's value in that. Did Orlando overpay for him? Possibly. I think a lot of people would say yes. I probably would lean yes, too. But if you see a player you like, sometimes you got to overpay to make sure no one else gets him. So I understand that. All right. But I still think when your asset is scoring and nothing else, and you had a year in which you took a downturn in that, you weren't scoring at the same clip we'd seen you before, your value, which was already low, takes a little bit of a hit. And that's what you saw with Anfernee Simons. So I do think in the end that getting Jrue Holiday is actually a pretty good value get for what Anfernee Simons is. It helps you right now, could help you in the future, and the trade value there is still going to be large, right? Now, I had plenty of people texting me going, hey, Steve makes $30 million a year, right? Obviously, so does Jeremy Grant, right? And DeAndre Ayton. But not all those contracts are created equal. Because you look at a Jeremy Grant and you look at a Jrue Holiday and you look at them both making roughly $30 million equal to each other. Which one of them has more value? I think the argument's Jrue Holiday, right? I think Jrue Holiday is the answer. So I still think in the long run, in a vacuum, I can understand certain things where you get mad. I don't like it. I don't like that. But in the long run, where everything here is a chess piece, right? I think that one makes sense. And I think Joe Cronin can still turn this into something. I don't necessarily think he gets flipped in the next 2 days, right? They turn around and flip him. That would be weird to me to go trade for Jrue Holiday twice, only to flip him within like 24 hours twice. That'd feel weird, right? But again, it's kind of what everyone leaned to. And then all the talking heads start talking about how, hey, this might make sense because there's value in that. So that's where I'm leaning here on this team. I think it was Kevin O'Connor tweeted. I want to see his tweet here for you. Read it out loud. Kevin O'Connor said, why Portland Portland's trade for Jrue Holiday is better than you think. He said the Blazers had a top 5 defensive rating after the All-Star break. In the short term, Jrue Holiday can help them take another step forward and is a way better fit next to the core pieces on the roster. This season, if Holiday has a bounce-back year, his value increases way beyond what they gave up. A poor-fitting guard on an expiring deal in Anfernee Simons plus 2 distant second-round picks, so maybe they could flip Holiday before the 2026 trade deadline to a contender. Or maybe they keep Holiday until the final year of his deal in 27-28. At that point, he'll have a juicy $37 million expiring deal that could be combined with assets to get a star. Teams need salaries to make big trades. Jrue becomes that piece after only 2 seasons. Acquiring Holiday isn't a misread by the Portland timeline. It's about the future. Turn Simons into a player who fits better now, helps facilitate development, and gives them a tradable salary when it's winning time. I like that. And again, you could sit there and you could look at a lot of deals that Portland has. Well, what about Jeremy Grant? Again, the value of Jeremy Grant I don't think is the same as Jrue Holiday. Because I don't know how many playoff teams are clamoring for Jeremy Grant. Again, his skill, offensive side of the ball. He's shown that he can bring it defensively when he needs to, but his skill, offensive side of the ball. Jrue Holiday, he'll bring it on both sides. He's not going to light up the scoreboard every single night, but he'll score when he needs you to. But defense has been that man's calling card since day one. Portland saw it on full display when they played New Orleans and got swept years and years and years ago. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum could do nothing. Jrue Holiday was on one. Jrue Holiday goes to Milwaukee. He does great. Jrue Holiday goes to Boston, helps them win a championship. Is he going to help Portland win a championship? I don't think so. Portland probably still a ways away. But he can definitely help this team continue to move into the next direction. All right, so that's the big news. That is the big news on the eve of the NBA draft. It's just past midnight. I started recording this thing at about 11:59, right? So we're just past midnight. It is now officially Tuesday morning, so the draft will be tomorrow. That is Wednesday. Just a reminder for all you listening, there is a big block party going down at the Rose Quarter, hosted by the Portland Trail Blazers. A bunch of people will be out there. DJ OG1, Rip City Remix will be represented. There'll be plenty of chances to win prizes and meet and greets and all that kind of stuff with the Blazers. And Doug Furr will be there. Obviously, Blaze the Trail Cat, right? Wouldn't be shocked if the Blazer dancers show up. And that starts at 4:30 there at the Rose Quarter. iHeart will be there, so you can enter to win some prizes while you're there. And of course, the Rip City Drive will be live from 3 to 4:30. Chad will be out. I'll be filling in. I'll be hosting that show right there live at Dr. Jack's. So if you're bored, you want to come say hi, get in on some conversation where we'll probably be talking about this trade a little bit, Sean Hyken and I. Come say hi. And of course, between now and the next episode, which we'll have another one here after the draft, we're going to start getting back into this because you know what? There's Blazer things to talk about now, and I love it. You know what to do. You can follow me all the time. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Chris J. Burkhart. That's where you can tweet at me for my bad takes. Say I'm stupid for, saying the keys have been handed to Scoot Henderson, which if you think I'm dumb, that's okay. That's absolutely okay. We're all dumb sometimes, and sometimes I'm the leader of the pack, but it is kind of fun. And of course, Courtside Monday and Game Day in the fifth quarter, all there on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio, 620, if you want to listen there as well. Once again, big news today. Breaking news made me stay up late to get back on the podcasting train for you. Anfernee Simons, no longer a Blazer. He has been traded to the Boston Celtics. Oh, still sounds weird. For Jrue Holiday. And again, the future for the Blazers remains to be seen. But we will get a clearer idea tomorrow with the NBA draft. Once again, this has been the 1977 podcast. Be sure to give it a like, a share, a subscribe, whatever you need to do to boost those numbers. Tell your friends about it. And as always, even when we're not recording, follow me over there on social at Chris J. Burkhart. Until next time, my friends, Rip City, I love you.
You've been listening to the 1977 podcast. See you next time.